Welcome back, CSC 230 W1, to part 2 of our ex1 lists and links. And I'm going to pick up where we left off and add some more content to our page. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close up the tab that I was working on last time. This is where we finished up. I'm just going to close this up and go back to here. And actually, I'll go over here to our icon and just go back to my repels. Just get out of here completely and go down and just open it up from scratch. So I'm going to open up my repel. And it should show my home page information here. And that's what it'll show over here. When you hit run, it's only going to run your main index page. It's not going to run your ex1. So that's what it's showing in here. And then if you open this in a new tab, which I'll do, you can see it'll show your home page. And if you want to display your ex1, you have to go to it. So now we're linked to our ex1, and I'll keep that open. So just wanted to show that. So now we're back here. I can move this over, and I'm going to be working in this index. Now I could even close up this other one. If I don't even want it open, I don't need to have it open. So I'm going to work in this index just so I'm not confused. So far I have an ex1 fall header. Now what I should really do is put it inside a header element just to indicate that it's the header of the page. And then we're going to have a section of the page just to be more semantic and descriptive about what's in the page. So I'm just going to type header. Now, if you ever have an issue, sometimes you can put a space between something, or you could just do this. You could just hit return, and I'm going to type header. No, not head, because we do have a head element, and it's not an H1. It's not a headline or anything. We're just going to put header and hit tab. Now, it created an empty header here, and I want this, our image, inside it. Well, how do I get it in there? Well, I have to cut and paste. I have to cut this, Command X or Control X, and then put it after. And I'll put it like that. And I'm going to tab this over and then move this back so that it shows that inside of body there's a header, and inside of header there's an image. So it's showing a hierarchy here of what's inside of what. And we'll try to do that. So that's the only thing I'm going to put in there. We are going to have a headline, but I think I'll put it in a section part. We could put our headline in here. So we have a header section with a header image. So that will not change anything here. If I refresh it, nothing will look different. That's just semantic. It's just to be more descriptive. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put section to create the next section of the page. We'll have a header, section, and then a footer. So we'll go here and hit return and type section. Now this won't show anything. I'll hit tab and then I'll hit return. And now what we'll put inside of section is we'll put a bunch of stuff. We'll put a headline, we'll put a subheadline, we'll put a list of things. So I'm going to put a headline in here. Even though we got rid of the one from the other page, I'm going to put it back. So I'm going to put the H1 back. I mean, I could have left it there, but I'll put it here. And I could even copy this. I'll copy this right out of my title and put it right in here. And there's our headline. And that should be after the image. And the sample has a paragraph. So let's put a paragraph in here. We're going to put P, and then inside that paragraph, we're going to put a greater than sign like that. And we'll put lorem, and I'm going to put 100. Now what that should do is put a paragraph, and that little caret or the greater than sign means inside of that paragraph we're going to put lorem, which is basically just placeholder copy, and it's going to be 100 words. And so P greater than sign lorem 100, and if you put 30, it'd put 30 words, but we're going to put 100, and I'll hit tab. And it's just putting in a paragraph. We just want to have a paragraph there just to create some kind of filler. So there's our paragraph. There's the opening tag, and here's the closing tag. And notice in Replit, when you click on a tag, it'll show you the closing tag. When you go in here, it'll show you the closing tag, or it should. It's not showing it right now. Header, there it is. It's showing that one. There, and now it's highlighting that. There, now it's highlighting that. So it wasn't doing it, but that's our paragraph. So we just put in a paragraph, and let's just see what it looks like so far. Let's go here and let's refresh. And that's all we want so far. Now it doesn't look good because it goes over here. We got this white space. But anyway, that's a 100-word paragraph, and it's lorem ipsum. It's just kind of a filler, just to make our page look a little better. So that's what we're going to work with for now. So we'll just leave that there. And then we're going to put an H2. After this paragraph, we'll put an H2. And we'll put things I like to do in the fall, or something like that. I don't care what you put in there. It's just we'll just put a list of stuff. So we'll put H2 and hit tab. And then in there, we're going to make a list. This list doesn't have to be numbered or anything like that. So that means it could be unordered. So it could just be a bulleted list. And we won't put numbers on them. It'll just be a bulleted list. That means it's unordered because a bullet list is not ordered. It's just bullets. So it's going to be unordered. So what we could do here, inside this H2, we're just going to put a subheadline. And we'll put things I like to do in the fall. And you could be whatever. I'll put 3 dots like an ellipsis. So after this, we're going to put a list. So we have our headline here, a larger one. Then we have a paragraph, and then we have, which would, I don't know, be some description. And then H2, things I like to do in the fall. And then after this, I'll hit a return. Now, we don't have to put H2 on a separate line. When we just have one line like this, it's okay to have those tags on the same line. But what I'll do down here is I'll hit return, and I'll put UL, and then inside UL, I'm going to have 3 things. So UL means unordered list. I'm going to make an unordered list, and inside that unordered list, that means inside, I'm going to use that greater than sign. Now this is just a shortcut to write the tags. I'll put LI times 3. And then I'll hit tab, and it's previewing it right here. Tab. There it is. So I made an unordered list. This is the whole unordered list, and these are the list items. Unordered list, starting tag, closing tag, or opening and closing tag. And here's my opening closing of each list item. So what are things I like to do in the fall? I like to, let's just say, watch football. I don't watch football as much as I used to when I was younger, but let's just say watch football because a lot of people like to watch football in the fall. Let's say drink Oktoberfest beers because I do like to do that. Notice I'm using the K, the German Oktoberfest beers. And if you're underage, don't be offended by that. And also, I like to have fires outside. To have a little fire in the fall, I think is kind of a cool thing. Like that crisp weather where you can have a nice fire outside. I like that smoky kind of burning wood smell. Have fires outside. So there's 3 things I like to do in the fall. So they're in this list. Should be a bullet list. This should be a sub headline. And notice there's just regular text inside those line items. And again, you don't have to save here. Let's just see what it looks like. There it is. Things I like to do in the fall. So I have my header section, which has an image. I have my section. This is all in the section area. And it has a H1, which says ex1 listen links. It has a paragraph with about 100 words. Then it has a sub-headline, which should be a little smaller. I'm not sure why. It doesn't look smaller. We'll have to take a look at it, but it doesn't look any smaller. It should look smaller than that. This should be double the size. This should be 1.5 the size of the root, but it doesn't right now. And this is a bullet list. And notice by default, it does indent it. We didn't do anything to indent it. That's just default. All this spacing in here, all this kind of stuff, that's default. Even this spacing over here along the top edge, left edge, that's all default HTML. And sometimes we'll wipe that out so that it doesn't conflict with the styles that we actually put in there ourselves. So we'll adjust that when we start using CSS. But right now, this is all just default formatting, default font, default sizes, default layout. It's going across the page. It's fluid. See, it's going across the page like that. If the page gets smaller, it's actually responsive, sort of, but it doesn't look good. And now we're going to make another list that has links in it so that we click on the links, they'll open up in a new tab, and it's going to be like about shows, right? And it could be about anything. It could be games you like. It could be movies you saw. The only thing I watch are kind of shows, like on Netflix and Hulu and stuff like that. So usually I make a list of shows, and then you click on it, and then it'll give you a description of the show. So if I have something here, and you're like, what the hell's that? I don't know what he's talking about. Or if you have something, and I'm like, what is that show? I could click on it and see a description of it and know what it is. And that's what we'll do of another list. And we'll number that list. We'll make it an ordered list, even though it doesn't really matter. You don't have to rank them or anything like that. But that's what we'll do next in our part 3 video. And that will finish off our HTML. So part 1, 2, and 3 of ex1, we're just making HTML. Then we'll start working on our CSS to format it and make it look nice. So that'll be part of our ex2. It'll be the same content, but it'll be a ex2. ex1 is just kind of working with the HTML. So we'll wrap up our HTML, we'll make some links, we'll make a ordered list, and we'll put a little footer at the bottom of our page just to finish it off. in part 3. So that's part 2. That's all you have to do for part 2. Stay tuned for part 3.